This isn't a dream, it's a nightmare, and you can't wake up. Welcome to WWH. My name is Andrew Dreamer. Thank you for joining us today. We have a great show in store for you as always. There are so many things going on. First off, we have a brand new logo that reflects who we are and the direction this channel is headed. I'm really excited for the future and I hope you are as well. We also now have a Patreon page for anyone who would like to support the channel. So head over there, check it out, and become a member of the WWH universe. Thank you to everyone who has played a part in helping this show continue to grow. Now that business is out of the way, let's get this show started. Today we have another rematch on the card. I'm really happy to be looking at all of these films again. They deserve to get the proper WWH treatment. That being said, we are taking a look at the original A Nightmare on Elm Street, the first time we ever saw Freddy Krueger on our screens. It was released in 1984, and of course it was written and directed by the legendary Wes Craven. He got the idea after reading several news articles about refugees refusing to sleep because of disturbing nightmares. Now, that idea evolved into something similar, but different. I doubt he knew just how big his film would become. It stars Heather Langenkamp, John Saxon, Johnny Depp, and Robert Englund as the man with knives for fingers. This is one of Johnny Depp's earliest roles, and it's really cool that he appears in this movie. Robert Englund, of course, is an icon in this genre. A Nightmare on Elm Street tells the story of Nancy Thompson and her friends being stalked by a killer who operates inside your dreams. And if you die in your dream, you die in real life. Now, that's raising the stakes. But just how much will it take to stop him? Let's head down to the ring and find out. The film starts with a teenager named Tina having a nightmare. In this disturbing dandy of a dream, she is attacked by a disfigured man wearing a glove that has knives for fingers. He slashes at her nightgown, but she wakes up in terror, then realizing that the slashes are real. The next morning, Tina's friend Nancy and her boyfriend Glenn console her. Nancy and Glenn are played by Heather Langenkamp and Johnny Depp respectively. They tell Tina that they also had nightmares. They decide to stay at Tina's house that night while her mother is out of town. Nancy confesses that she also dreamed about the disfigured man. Tina's boyfriend Rod crashes the party and stays as well. When Tina falls asleep, she again dreams about the man. Rod wakes up when Tina begins thrashing around and he sees her being dragged out of the bed and onto the freaking ceiling. The visual of all this is amazing. She is killed and falls onto the bed. Rod doesn't see the killer though, so he runs away. Nancy and Glenn come in to find their friend dead. When Nancy returns to school, she runs into Rod on the way, who tells her that he didn't kill Tina. Nancy's dad is a police officer and arrests Rod anyway. Lieutenant Thompson berates his daughter for going to school so soon after her friend's death. She walks away from him and goes anyway. Now, while at school, Nancy falls asleep. During this dream, she wanders out into the hallway where she sees Tina's dead body being dragged down the hall. She runs after her and bumps into a hall monitor and delivers the best comeback of all time.
Where's your pass? Screw your pass.
Nancy ends up being chased into a boiler room by the disfigured man, and when she gets cornered, she deliberately burns her arm on a boiler. This wakes her up and she notices the burn still on her arm. After school, Nancy goes to visit Rod at the jail, and he describes Tina's death to her, and even tells her about having nightmares about the same man chasing him. Tina starts thinking that this man is the one who actually killed Tina. Later at home, Nancy falls asleep in the bathtub, and she's nearly drowned by the man. But she wakes up just in time. Nancy begins to rely on caffeine to stay awake, and eventually invites Glenn over to watch her sleep, but he's not very good at it and falls asleep himself.
What'd I do?
I just asked you to do one thing. Just stay awake and watch me. Just wake me up if it looked like I was having a bad dream.
In her dream, though, she sees the man preparing to kill Rod in his cell. He turns his attention to her, but she runs away, waking up when her alarm clock goes off. The man kills Rod by hanging him with bed sheets. Making it look like Rod did it to himself. At Rod's funeral, Nancy describes her dreams to her parents and they become worried. Her mother, Marge, takes her to a sleep clinic, and when they put her to sleep, she pulls a fedora out of her dream with the name Fred Krueger written inside it. Marge barricades the house, even putting bars on all of the windows. She tells Nancy that Freddy Krueger was a child murderer who killed 20 kids, but got released on a technicality. Parents on the street took matters into their own hands and burned Krueger alive. Nancy now realizes that Krueger is killing her friends as an act of revenge, and she tries to warn Glenn, but his father won't let her even talk to him. Glenn falls asleep and is killed by Krueger in the bloodiest scene in this movie. Nancy is now alone and puts her mother to sleep. She rigs the house with a bunch of booby traps and then calls her father to tell him to break into the house in 20 minutes. She sleeps and then pulls Krueger into the real world. The booby traps work well enough for Nancy to set Freddy on fire and lock him in the basement. Nancy rushes to the front door. The police arrive to find the Kruegs no longer in the basement. Nancy and her father follow some fiery footprints up to find Freddy smothering Marge. After Lieutenant Thompson puts the fire out, Freddy and Marge disappear into the bed. Lieutenant Thompson leaves the room just before Krueger rises from the bed behind Nancy. She finally realizes that he is fueled by fear, so she turns her back on him and takes back all of the power she gave to him. Freddy disintegrates as he lunges at her. It was that easy, huh? The next thing we see is Nancy stepping outside of her house into a bright morning. Her mother and her friends are still alive. Nancy gets into Glenn's convertible and then suddenly the top comes down. It has red and green stripes just like Freddy's sweater. The car takes off wildly down the street as the Jump Rope Girls sing their song. Marge is then grabbed by Krueger and pulled through the window of the door. And that's where the movie ends. Now, when you think about the big three, you've got Michael, Jason, and Freddy. Freddy is probably my least favorite, and that comes down to nostalgia. Growing up, I spent more time with the other two, and I'm pretty sure that's why I feel this way, but I still think that this is a really good movie. Like I said, Wes Craven is a legend in horror. We'll get into the reasons I like this film in just a moment, but right now we have to take a quick break, so stick around for more WWH action. If you're looking to save 20% off of your order from Redcon1.com, look no further, I have the perfect deal for you. Use code AndrewDreamer at checkout, you will save 20%. Go to their website, get some supplements, get some t-shirts, get some protein bars, anything you could possibly want, they will have. So make sure you go check it out. Welcome back. Don't fall asleep because someone may be waiting in your dreams. Let's head back down to the ring. The positives for A Nightmare on Elm Street are not hard to find, so let's start with Wes Craven, one of my favorite directors of all time and the creator of two of the biggest horror franchises in history. His legacy is immense and we miss him. Robert Englund is just fantastic. It's hard to believe that anyone else was ever considered for the role in the first place. He is so scary as Freddy Krueger, and he is perfect for the character. The story is about as interesting as one can be. There really aren't any boring parts, at least not for me. This was Johnny Depp's first film, and that's just freaking cool. Heather Langenkamp does a great job as well. This film is just really well made, but that's not to say it's perfect. On to the negatives now. The ending. I'm not a fan of the ending. I don't think it makes a ton of sense that Freddy can just be defeated by saying you're not afraid of him. And that doll that they used to drag through the window was just ridiculous. And if I'm being nitpicky, like I like to be, then the dialogue and the acting can be rough. It's not always the best, but that's all for now. So let me know down in the comments what issues you have with this movie, and let me know where Freddy ranks among your favorite killers. Honestly, I'm just glad we didn't have a lot of off-screen kills in this one. It's time to wrap up the show now. Subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 500 and we're getting closer every day. Leave a comment down below and hit that like button. It helps out so much. Thank you for joining us today. I really hope you enjoyed the show. Stay tuned because WWH has a lot more coming your way. But Until next time, my name is Andrew Dreamer, and this is Wrestling with Horror.